The grand ballroom of the Delacroix estate glittered with chandeliers casting a golden glow over the sea of elegantly dressed aristocrats. Beneath the polished facade of wealth and nobility, an invisible line divided the privileged few from those who served them. I was among the latter, a maid whose life was defined by servitude and shadows. That night, I had been assigned to serve wine. Trays of crystal glasses balanced delicately in my hands as I weaved through the crowd, keeping my gaze low and my presence unobtrusive. But even amidst the whirl of silk gowns and the low hum of conversation, I felt the weight of someone's stare. When I dared to glance up, my eyes met his. Lord Alexander Carlyle, heir to one of the wealthiest families in the region. He stood tall, his posture exuding the arrogance of privilege, yet his eyes betrayed something else. Curiosity, perhaps, or desire. I quickly averted my gaze, heat rising to my cheeks. Servants were not meant to be noticed, especially not by someone like him. Yet he continued to watch me. As the evening wore on, I could feel his gaze following my every movement. It was unsettling and exhilarating all at once. I tried to ignore it, focusing on my duties, but my mind was consumed by questions. Why was he staring? What did he want? Later, as the clock struck midnight and the festivities began to wane, I slipped outside to the gardens for a moment of reprieve. The cool night air was a welcome contrast to the stifling warmth of the ballroom. I had just begun to relax when I heard footsteps behind me. "You shouldn't be out here alone," a voice said. I turned to find Lord Alexander standing a few paces away. His tone was calm, but there was something in his eyes that made my pulse quicken. "I was just getting some air, my lord," I replied, bowing my head slightly. "Please don't call me that." He stepped closer, his expression softening. "It's just Alexander." I didn't know how to respond. We weren't supposed to speak to them unless spoken to, and even then, only with the utmost formality. Yet here he was, breaking every rule of decorum. "Why were you staring at me?" I asked, the words escaping before I could stop them. He smiled, a slow, deliberate curve of his lips. "Because you're different." Different. That single word carried 1,000 meanings. Different from the finely dressed women who surrounded him. Different from the world he inhabited. I was someone who should have remained invisible. Yet here I was, standing before him. "Noticed? This isn't proper," I whispered. "If anyone sees us, let them see," he said with quiet defiance. "I've grown tired of following rules written by those who only care for themselves." A shiver ran down my spine, and it wasn't from the cold. I knew this was dangerous, that I should walk away before I got pulled into something I couldn't escape. But his gaze held me in place, a magnetic force I couldn't resist. That night, something changed between us. It started with stolen glances and whispered words in the shadows. Over the weeks that followed, it grew into something more, a forbidden desire that neither of us could deny. We met in secret, always careful to avoid prying eyes. In the dim glow of moonlit nights, we shared stolen moments, each one more intoxicating than the last. But secrets have a way of unraveling. In a house filled with watchful eyes and scheming minds, our clandestine meetings didn't go unnoticed for long. Lady Margaret, Alexander's betrothed, was the first to suspect. Her sharp eyes and colder demeanor made it clear she didn't miss much. One evening, she cornered me in the servants' quarters, her voice dripping with venom. "You think you can steal what's mine?" she hissed, her fingers digging into my arm. "You're nothing but a servant. Know your place." Fear gripped me, but I couldn't let her see it. "I've stolen nothing, my lady." "Liar." She released me with a shove, her eyes gleaming with malice. I'll see to it that you're dismissed. Better yet, I'll ruin you. No one crosses me," and walks away unscathed. The threat hung in the air long after she had gone. Panic swelled in my chest. If she told Lord Delacroix or Alexander's father, it would mean the end of everything. Not just my position, but my life as I knew it. When I told Alexander, he was furious. "She has no right to treat you that way." "She has every right," I said bitterly. "She's nobility. I'm just a maid. That's how the world works. Not if I can